register your company. It takes literally a few minutes to register your company. And the reason why we're doing it this way, Bridget, I know everybody's going to ask, but why can't I just walk and pick up my bus ticket? The reason we're doing it this way is just one, for credibility; two, for the popular information, so your information don't go somewhere in there; and three, we know the cost already for people currently working. It's expensive, but we're saying you have a job. Let's give the millions of people who don't have a job at the moment, let's grant them that opportunity to go use this voucher and try and get a job.
Yeah. So,
Because unfortunately, we've seen during the crisis in COVID how some people have abused the process, and we had to put stop measures in place so that does not happen.
okay. So this is, if I'm understanding correct, and please correct me if I'm wrong, this is strictly for candidates that already have a job an interview lined up. So say, for instance, you are lined up to come and interview at the SABC. SABC is
Yes.
then a registered participating partner with the Western Cape government, and then SABC then registers your details on the platform, and then you go get your transport card. Am I understanding the mechanics correct?
You understand the mechanics 100% correct, because we know people cannot get into interviews even if they have interviews lined up. The cost to getting there is so expensive.
All right, let's take a quick break here, and then we come back on the other side and continue our conversation with the MEC Ricardo McKenzie.
Keeping up with your TV license balance inquiries is now simpler than ever. No more waiting in queues, no more phone calls. Just SMS your ID or TV license account number to 44210 and secure your legal viewing fast and simple. Standard SMS rates will be charged. Terms and conditions apply. TV licenses. Pay yours. Make a difference.
Mzansi Africa.
Siyabulela nangomso.
Thank you for witnessing the Africa Cup of Nations Cote d'Ivoire 2023 in your language of choice on SABC radio stations, digital platforms, and SABC TV channels.
Big ups to Hollywood Bets for being on board.
Your magnificent and heartwarming support gave millions of South Africans a spectacular and exhilarating experience during AFCON.
Asibonge.
Proudly brought to you
By SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
MasterChef, the biggest, most loved culinary TV show on the planet, is coming to S3. And this fresh local version of MasterChef South Africa will cook up a storm on S3 for the first time in 2024. And you can enter via www.masterchefsa.tv and start prepping for the opportunity to win R1 million. And of course, the prestigious title of Mzansi's new MasterChef. Remember that entries close on the 15th of March. Channel A Better You only on S3.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
We are in conversation with MEC for Mobility in the Western Cape on the back of they launching the Getting You to Work initiative, which is offering a free transportation by way of a voucher that's loaded with 12 free trips for prospective candidates to be able to attend job interviews. Now, I wonder, MEC, is this eligible to job seekers at specific levels or criterion, or just anybody?
Anybody, any job seeker who's got a scheduled interview can get this card. It is not aimed, it's aimed at anyone. So any specific job seeker who's got a scheduled interview can get this. And if you, for example, out there and you are a job seeker and you have an interview, and your interview, for example, is next week, Wednesday, and you can actually ask your participating employer to say, you've got an interview, in this case, let's say SABC, they're not a participant, can you please register with them? It's a simple process, they register, they send you the SMS so that you can get to that interview.
Lovely stuff. And then the other question becomes, because it is actually a cool initiative, and everyone will give props that it's actually, we always look for solutions, and this is solutions based. And it has the potential to be scaled up on a national level. Is this something that you, as the DA in the Western Cape, now just speaking asking that question from a political perspective. Is this something that you are actually willing to, if the potential to scale it up is there and given, something that you're willing to sort of not lead and have it go national to all 9 provinces, regardless of who's now championing it outside of the Western Cape?
Definitely. It doesn't matter who champions it. The unemployment problem is not a Western Cape problem. It's a South Africa problem. So for any candidate to be able to get to an interview and hopefully get that job is a bonus for all of us in this country. So it doesn't matter who champions it, we'll certainly, but obviously we've started it. We're looking for initiatives to see how we can enable job creation, in this particular case, the Western Cape, but anyone in the country can do this. Any province can do it. They're entitled to do so, and it will reduce or help those people get a job and obviously reduce unemployment. So any of my colleagues, my 9 MECs in the other provinces, 8 in the other provinces can start this, or the national government. In fact, one of the contacts from the Department of Labor contacted us, and they're meeting with us this week to see how they can work with us to get job seekers. I think the only issue is around copy information, because people gave them their information and now they're giving it to us. So we're trying to get through that small technicality, but I'm certain we can do it as soon as possible. The more people we get to jobs, the better it is for South Africa.
Absolutely. Now, for anybody that is either interested, whether it is a corporate or whether it is an entrepreneur that thinks that they want to plug in their business into this initiative, are there any prerequisites from their end that they need to have in place before plugging in?
No prerequisites. As long as you're registered on the CPICC database and you can give your company registration number, so we can ensure that because we don't want, things unfortunately go wrong. We are human beings. Life happens. We don't want somebody to register saying the company DYZ sent you and voucher, Bridget. It turned out you're going somewhere that you're not supposed to go. That's why we're asking for companies to register to ensure the safety of all of us.
All right. So you do some kind of vetting for the companies primarily, because that would be the scamming end,
Exactly.
or rather where
Yes.
the scamming weakness could be.
We do that. That's why we're asking companies to register. So on the back end, we can make sure that company A is actually company A and not a nefarious individual sending you the SMS to go somewhere that you're not supposed to go. And that is the reason we're doing this at the back end, to ensure whoever gets this SMS from us as the Western Cape government, that there's a credible process in place.
Lovely stuff. Our WhatsApp line is open on 061-410-4107. I wonder what is your thought on this, or 086-000-2032. Do you think it's a cool initiative? And would you like to see it rolled out countrywide? Let's go to WhatsApp.
Yeah, Bridget, we appreciate and welcome that Western Cape Transport Initiative for the job seekers to be transported over there. But now, the most important thing, it should accommodate first the South African citizens, because there's an adage going, charity begins at home. South Africans first. Thank you. Willie in Kuma.
I mean, I can take it that that's probably a given, right? That this initiative would target South Africans primarily.
You must put in your ID number.
Yes.
It's a prerequisite.
There we go. Okay, so that case is done and dusted. You must have a valid South African ID number, and that speaks volumes for itself. Ricardo, I think we've pretty much gotten the gist of this initiative, and it's running just by way of just final. It runs 365 days of the year. There's no on-off period for it.
It's run from now. It will run until the end of March next year, which is the next financial year. And Bridget, if I may, just give the contact number for
MEC?
The numbers for corporates to call is 0860 142 142, 0860 142 142, and our email address is service@westerncape.gov.za, service@westerncape.gov.za, and we open from 8 until 4, in the day, and Saturday and Sunday from 8 until 1.
Lovely stuff. We appreciate the time with you this afternoon. That was the MEC for Mobility in the Western Cape. So if you do live in the Western Cape and you are a job seeker and you do have an interview scheduled, maybe this is something also you can proactively, in a polite way, ask your prospective employer, wherever you might be going to have an interview in the Western Cape, if they don't proactively ask you or tell you, proactively inform you that they have partnered on this initiative. Maybe you can just gently, politely ask them if they've heard of the Getting You to Work initiative. And maybe they have, and they've just, they just slow with giving the details. And if you haven't registered on it, 0860 142 142 is the number that you can call if you're a company, a corporate, and you want to register yourself and be able to get prospective candidates to you for an interview. 0860 142 142 is the number, or service at westerncape.gov.za. It's fast approaching 1:30. Nomalizo Mandela is standing by with the headline news.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 106.2 FM in Thohoyandou.
Thank you, Bridget. And in the headlines, unemployed healthcare workers have marched to the union buildings in Pretoria over lack of job opportunities for unemployed medical doctors and other healthcare providers. The march follows the one in Pietermaritzburg in KwaZulu-Natal recently. In other news, United Nations body UNESCO has sounded the alarm for more teachers to join the profession, as 44 million additional teachers are needed globally to meet the 2030 Sustainable Development Goal 4 on quality education. And the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres says nothing justifies what he called the collective punishment of the Palestinian people in Gaza. Details on these and other stories at the top of the hour.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, leading the conversation.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
The Market Update, Monday to Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m.
Want to stay ahead of the financial game? Join us tonight from 6 to 7 p.m. for an insightful journey through the day's market developments, financial updates, and investment news. Tune in for your daily dose of financial intelligence as we navigate the twists and turns of the financial landscape with expert insights. Only on the SAFM Market Update.
SAFM Market Update with Jimmy Muyaha.
You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
It is the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on SAFM on this fine Monday afternoon. And we've got joining us now the Director of Stakeholder Liaison on Communication from the University of Mpumalanga, Hlangilani Ubisi. And the University of Mpumalanga is celebrating 10 years under the theme Decade of Excellence and creating opportunities since its establishment back in 2013. And we're going to find out more about this incredible milestone. Good afternoon to you, Hlangilani.
Yes, thanks for having us.
It's only a pleasure. It's been a while since 2013, so maybe let's reflect back by way of beginning in terms of the 10-year celebrations.
Definitely. So the University of Mpumalanga was established formally in August 2013, and it enrolled its first students. There were about 169 students that were enrolled in 3 programs in February 2014. So this month, being February, marks a very important milestone for the university because in addition to celebrating 10 years of existence since our establishment, we're also celebrating 10 years of academic activities, meaning that it's 10 years since teaching and learning started at the University of Mpumalanga.
You know, when you say 169 students, I almost did a double take, because I think when we think about universities starting up, we always think about them already at that sort of that grand scale of thousands of students. We don't think about the crawling stages of an establishment.
Definitely. I think possibly, post 1994, there have been only 2 universities that have been established. So our thinking of university are that of established universities. But in our case, we had to start from the ground, started with fewer qualifications and have grown over the years. At this point, this year, academic year 2024, we are offering 72 programs. And as a comprehensive university, we are able to offer diplomas, bachelor degrees, bachelor honors, master's degree. We're now even offering PhDs. We have about 5 PhDs. So we're a fully fledged university sitting at about 9,800 students registered for this year from a mere 169. So therefore it's an important growth from our side as an institution.
Absolutely. Let's talk also perhaps about some of the achievements that might stand out in the last 10 years of the institution.
There's been a number of key achievements. One, obviously, being able to have a functional university that is able to offer the 3 core business or core focus areas of the university, which is teaching and learning, research and innovation, as well as engagement. In the research front, we have also made significant progress to such an extent that we're even recognized by the National Research Foundation for our improved research outputs. And in terms of engagements, we have a number of engagement projects that are to the benefit of communities around Mpumalanga and elsewhere. So we have registered that, and in addition, one of the things that we've been able to do is to establish strategic partnerships as enable us to ensure that we're able to achieve our strategic objectives. But we have also been able to recruit highly qualified academics. As we speak, currently, more than 52% of our academics are having a PhD. Therefore, that's important for us because we're able to even improve from a research output point of view.
Yeah. And tell me this, every sort of university is coveted for something or is known for leading away in a particular department. Do you guys have a focus where you would say the greatest strength and the greatest appeal is where it is for you guys?
Definitely. So we have been able to identify what we call our niche areas. As much as we offer diverse number of qualifications and we have academics that do research in various disciplines, there are a number of key areas that we have identified we're focusing on, we're good at, obviously one being leadership and governance. We're pushing to establish ourselves there. Issues around agro-processing, agriculture, obviously given the geographical location of where the university is, because we also need to be responsive to the needs around us and in early childhood education. As much as we may not yet be authority in those fields, but those are the areas that we have some sort of expertise, and we're investing in that expertise so that we're able to grow in that space.
Yeah. In fact, for a university based in Mpumalanga, I would expect that agriculture and environmental and mining concerned focuses and fields will be the ones that do, in fact, take the center stage as you continue to grow from strength to strength. Now, after 10 years of what sounds to be a very successful academic journey and a steady build for the university, I'm also told that there are certain key individuals that you will be honoring as part of this marking of these celebrations.
Definitely. So the university has taken a decision to honor a number of individuals that have contributed positively to the growth and progress of the university. The first being our first chairperson of council, Professor David Mabunda. We had a ceremony and he was conferred a Professor Emeritus title, but just a way of acknowledging his contribution, because you appreciate that councils play an important role in higher education, because they provide a strategic direction of the institution, but also deal with issues of governance. Therefore, over the last years that he has been the chairperson of council, he has been able to do that, and the university saw it fit to be able to confer Professor Emeritus status on him. Secondly, we honored the late Dr. Ines Mabuza by initiating an annual lecture on education, given his contribution in education, especially in the region of Mpumalanga. And we think that it's someone that, we were inspired by his work. And lastly, the first Vice Chancellor of the university, who has been, the Vice Chancellor from 2014, has been successfully been able to guide the university to where it is today. Therefore, we saw it fit also to honor her by naming the library after her. So those were the key people that we identify that as we celebrate these 10 years of academic activities at the University of Mpumalanga, we should be able to honor and recognize them to say thank you for your contribution.
Absolutely. Hlangelani, thank you so much for the time today. I think that's where we'll wrap it. But congratulations once again, and may you guys enjoy this moment to the first 10 and hopefully the next 10 and the next 10 after that. That was Hlangelani Ubisi, who's the Director, Stakeholder Liaison and Communications for the University of Mpumalanga, which is marking its 10th anniversary this year, having of course opened up its doors for its first cohort of UMP students back in February of 2014, of the 19th in February, by the way, to be more specific, and then welcoming 169 students, and since then they've grown to a full-fledged university. It's just gone 20 to 2 o'clock on the Full Circle. Let's take a quick break, and then we come back on the other side of this and we focus on the SAMRO initiative. They are inviting applications for their 2024 Music Creation Support Fund. 3 million rand is in the fund kitty, opening itself up to members, and we'll find out more about what that entails.
The Northwest Provincial Legislature's Portfolio Committee on Economic Development, Environment, Tourism, Agriculture and Rural Development will embark on public hearings throughout the province on the National Small Enterprise Amendment Bill, Basics in B 2023, on 28 February 2024, in Ngakamudiri Molema District at Motswedi Community Hall in Motswedi, in Dr. Kenneth Kaunda District at Ballroom Hall in Matlosana, in Dr. Ruth Sombutsi Mompati District at Ukanang Community Hall in Christiana, in Bojanala District at White Hall in Breds. All hearings start at 10.
Arts, culture, and robust conversations with Bridget Masinga.
It is indeed the Full Circle, and we're going to be catching up with the Southern African Music Rights Organization, SAMRO, who are availing 3 million rand for the 4th installment of their flagship corporate social investment program, the Music Creation Support Fund. Joining me now is the CSI manager out at SAMRO, Lesego Mafurai. How are you doing this afternoon, Lesego?
Hi, Bridget. I'm great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. All right, let's first get an understanding of the Music Creation Support Fund and what all that entails.
All right. So as part of SAMRO's CSI portfolio, we have a number of initiatives that we roll out year in, year out. And all of them are really geared towards supporting SAMRO members to become better musicians, either in content but also in how they conduct their affairs personally. But the MCSF, to be specific, is really a program that we're really proud of. We started it in 2021, and really the focus was around giving relief to artists who were affected by COVID and all of the downscaling that went on during the period. So since 2021, we've spent 7.5 million rand, which we've distributed to our full and associate members who take part in this MCSF. And we started out with 100, and we've continued on that tune for the past 3 years. But for this year's iteration, the 2024, we'll be pushing that up to 120 of our talented members, and hence the 3 million rand commitment.
Lesego, does the fund call for creators to utilize it for specific resource, or is it to their discretion in as far as where it goes and how it's utilized?
Okay, so we've tried to be as broad as possible. So the creatives are allowed to do anything that results in the creation of new music. And we deem new music anything being a new recording or completing an album that's currently underway, or creating a music video for a song that's released but doesn't have a music video that goes with it. So we've been pretty lenient in terms of what they can use the money for. They could use the money to pay for session artists, as long as at the end of the process they're able to produce one piece of music that they can then share publicly, and that we as SAMRO will then take into our music archive and preserve that.
Yeah, and this is strictly for SAMRO members, right?
Yes, this is correct. It is for SAMRO members. And so it's open to all of our full and associate members. So at SAMRO we have 3 levels of membership. We have prospective members, and those are essentially all your new artists who aren't generating a lot of revenue but want to access the industry, and they actually represent the significant portion of our membership. And then we have full and associate members. So those are members who've crossed specific threshold levels, and then are then invited to be full or associate members.
Okay, and I heard you say it's for the full and associate members.
Yes.
Okay.
So those are the 2 categories of SAMRO members that are able to apply for the grant.
And when you initially started, as you said, you were reaching 100 recipients, and this year you've scaled up a bit in fund and in number.
Yes, that's correct. So the fund so far is we would allocate 2.5 million rand per year to then distribute 25,000 rand to each of the artists that were nominated for the MCSF. But we felt it was, and we've had such a good response from artists, the quality of the work that's come through, to the fact that our executive and our board have deemed it fit to try and extend this to more members over time. So hence we've gone from 100 to 120. Yeah.
And then just by way of adding more clarification, if one is a full and associate member, is there another sort of list of criterion that I need to tick, or this is the sufficient box?
As long as you're a full and associate member, you would have already received communication around the initiative, and those members who haven't are free to reach out to us, and we will support them in that. But we communicate before we even go public. We communicate to all our members first about the opportunity and all the requirements that go along with that, and then they're open to apply, and we manage those applications for over a 3-week period before then evaluating and then appoint what's the word I'm looking for? Granting the recipients.
Now, in terms of the adjudication committee, I'm not going to ask you who's on the committee. I know that the deadline is on the 15th of March 2024. And what do I then, you've obviously communicated to your members, but people sometimes miss the messaging. What do I need by way of, it must be within my proposal and my documents and my submission?
Okay, so for the Music Creation Support Fund, we really need to see the participants' program, how they intend to utilize the money, where it's going to go. So we do require some sort of a budget and a project plan that's attached to that, because we need to make sure that the funds are used in an effective way. But then, apart from that, we're not very restrictive in terms of what must be there. They must just provide, obviously, their personal details, their ID copy, their membership numbers, what they're going to do with the money. So a description of their project. Are they going to create? Is it money going to be used for a new album, or to add to songs already created? Or are they creating one piece of unique music that they're using to generate interest in their craft? Or are they going to do a video that's based on new music that they've put out? So, and I mean, for that, the applicants must know that it's a grant. So obviously, if they don't perform, then obviously they would have to then repay that money back to the organization. But
so don't squander the money. Use it for what it was intended.
Absolutely. We give these grants to try and ensure that artists have new content coming out, and as a result of that, it adds to their sustainability through the royalties that we then collect on their behalf.
Yeah, and just by way of parting shot, I read that you also noticed a sort of increase in the number of females that applied for this particular grant last year.
Absolutely. So, we've really been trying to drive gender parity throughout all of our programs. And, for example, as you reflect on last year, we only had 17% of our applicants being female in the previous round. That is a 2022-2023. But the 2023-2024, we saw that increase by 19% to 30%, 36% of our applicants being female. And we're hoping that this number increases more. And to put that into perspective, last year we received in excess of 782 applications.
Sure. Well, listen, I hope that the information has gotten to all the relevant ears. Thank you so much for the time. That was a CSI manager at SAMRO who graciously allowed me to butcher his surname, Lisejo Mafura, coming through. It's 10 to 2 o'clock right here on the Full Circle. Kids Corner is coming up, and it's going to lead us to the top of the hour into Nomalizo Mandela and the news.
Mzansi Africa.
Siyabulela
nangomso.
Thank you for witnessing the Africa Cup of Nations Cote d'Ivoire 2023 in your language of choice on SABC radio stations, digital platforms, and SABC TV channels.
Big ups to Hollywood Bets for being on board.
Your magnificent and heartwarming support gave millions of South Africans a spectacular and exhilarating experience during AFCON.
Asonge. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Free State Provincial Government, under the leadership of Premier Mxolisi Dukwana, will host the much-anticipated Free State Investment Conference. The conference seeks to promote the province as an investment destination through showcasing strategic investment projects. Do join us on the 27th of February 2024 at the University of the Free State's main campus in Bloemfontein. The Free State Provincial Government, harnessing partnerships, stimulating growth and development through investment.
The Market Update, Monday to Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m.
Want to stay ahead of the financial game? Join us tonight from 6 to 7 p.m. for an insightful journey through the day's market developments, financial updates, and investment news. Tune in for your daily dose of financial intelligence as we navigate the twists and turns of the financial landscape with expert insights. Only on the SAFM Market Update.
SAFM Market Update with Jimmy Muyaha. This program is brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
Hello, my name is Denver and I'm 10 years old. I'm in grade 5. Yes, I do a lot of DIY at home. Yes, it is important to do DIY because DIY can actually improve your skills in building and thinking. I use paper, glue, scissors, cardboard, colors, and pencils to do my DIY. I sometimes do both. follow the instructions to do my project, and some just pop in my head. The most successful DIY I've ever done is a squishy and a mini notebook, or a diary. There were no DIY I did with my family. Be careful, scissors are sharp.
Hi, my name is Asanda Chabalala. I'm 11 years old from Ekoli. I do not do a lot of DIYs at home. Yes, I think it is important to do DIY activities. I've used an old broom for one of my DIYs. I think of a project to do myself. I've done a project that is a camera. Yes, I have done a project with my family. One of my safety precautions is to always be careful with the scissors.
My name is Katlano Nyane. I don't really do DIY projects at home. And I don't think it's that important to do DIY projects. But they can also save you money instead of buying unnecessary things when you can just make it at home. A few household items I've used for my old DIY project is cardboard boxes, paint, glue, scissors, and old jars. I don't really follow the instructions when I do DIY activities. It's either I search up the items that they use and use my own preferred items, or I just do it myself instead of watching a tutorial or asking for help. The most successful DIY project I've ever done is making a frame for a picture that I took long ago. I made it out of cardboard, and then I used glue and some old Christmas decorations, just to make it pop and make it look colorful and nice.
My name is Levandi Hlongwane. It's been a very long time since I've done any DIY products. I think it's super duper important to do these DIY products because it doesn't only save you a ton of money, but it also opens up your creative mindset and also grows your problem solving skills. It also teaches you that you don't need money for everything and that you can literally find anything and it could work for whatever you need it to work for. I am not one person who does a lot of DIY activities, but I think all of us can relate. We tried the at-home slime. And those that know that it didn't work. It failed dismally. And I think all the videos or all the pictures that we would see were just clickbait, and they were made to believe that this actually works and this is real. I tried it out and it didn't work. So I also had a lot of doubts about DIY products, and I was very skeptical if people were actually doing these things because they worked, or they were going behind cameras and buying the actual thing. So yeah, I've been very skeptical about attempting a lot of things that I see on the internet. My DIY activities sometimes require me to follow instructions, and sometimes I just do whatever is at the top of my head. Whatever I think can help me in a specific situation, I do it. So that's why I say that it really opens up your creative mindset. It makes you think about things that are outside of the box, things that you never even imagined could actually work. I haven't really attempted to do very dangerous DIY activities, so it's never really required me to apply safety precautions or have parental supervision while doing it. And I've also never ever really tried to attempt a DIY activity with my family. Maybe that's something I will be looking forward to during the holidays that are coming. I'll see.
My name is Michelle Mangala and I'm 11 years of age. Yes, I have created something using my hands and recycled materials. I created a hut that looked like the ones the African people lived in years ago. Yes, I do think so, because staying on your phone all day can give you neck cramps, itchy eyes, and sore eyes. I love to create things and sometimes fix things. Thank you and have a lovely day.
Hi, my name is Roflupela Ratogwa. I am 12 years old. Yes, I have ever created something using my hands. The thing that I created using my own hands was a kite. Yes, I think that creating something using our own hands is a better activity than just staying on my phone the whole day because it helps me to develop my creativity more.
Creating things with our hands, also known as DIY, do-it-yourself, is like having a superpower of creativity. It's a bit like being a mini inventor, using our hands to turn ideas into real tangible things. The benefits of DIY projects are pretty awesome. Firstly, making things on our own is like having a special skill that boosts our confidence. When we finish a project, whether it's crafting, building, or designing, it's a bit like a high five to ourselves. We feel proud of what we've accomplished, and that sense of achievement is super cool. DIY is also like a fun learning adventure. It's a bit like having a hands-on school where we explore and discover new things. While making fun stuff, we pick up skills, learn how things work, and maybe even find out a few surprising facts. It's like being little scientists right in our own creative lab. Another benefit is that making things with our hands is a bit like having a secret stress relief button. It's a way to rewind and let our imagination run wild. Whether it's drawing, painting, or building, it's like having a magical outlet where we express ourselves freely. However, safety is super important in our creative journey. Using tools or materials requires a bit of caution. It's like having a safety superhero by our side. Always ask for help from grown-ups when needed, and make sure you have the right tools for your age. Wearing safety gear like goggles or gloves is a bit like having a superhero costume. It keeps you protected. Also, it's crucial to have a neat and organized workspace. It's like having a clean canvas to start our creative masterpiece. Keeping things tidy not only helps us find what we need, but also ensures a safety and enjoyable DIY experience. So my little creators, dive into the world of DIY with excitement and curiosity. It's like having a magic wand in your hands, turning ordinary moments into extraordinary creations. Just remember, a dash of creativity, a sparkle of safety, and a dollop of fun makes the perfect recipe for a DIY adventure.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives. Independent and impartial. This is SAFM News.
And top stories this hour, IEC updates on the election preparedness and healthcare workers march to union buildings. Good afternoon. The IEC says political parties have been given adequate time to comply with the signature requirements to contest the elections. The Electoral Commission briefed the media today at its headquarters in Centurion, where it outlined milestones related to the 2024 national and provincial elections. The elections timetable follows the gazetting of the 29th of May as the date for the elections. The Commission says the timetable published on the 24th of February was drafted in consultation with registered political parties and relates to the cut-off dates and times of key activities for registered citizens and election contestants. IEC Commissioner Nomsa Masuku responded to complaints about the time allocated for parties to collect prescribed signatures.
The portal for capturing signature has been open for a bit of time. It actually was opened on the 26th of January of 2024. So our contestants have actually had quite some time to begin the process. And so anyone who is preparing to contest the elections should know that once an election date is proclaimed, the train starts moving because we have an election timetable. So I don't think it is an excuse to say that the election timetable has caught people by surprise.
Unemployed healthcare workers have marched to the union buildings in Pretoria over lack of job opportunities for unemployed medical doctors and other healthcare providers. The march follows the one in Pietermaritzburg in KwaZulu-Natal recently. About 200 unemployed healthcare workers, supported by their employed counterparts, addressed in their scrubs, singing and chanting, calling for jobs. Their spokesperson is Dr. Mamtaz Emran.
This highlights a sad reality for South Africa, a South Africa that is in desperate need of quality healthcare, yet the employment of healthcare workers has not been prioritized. In the past 9 weeks, we have appealed to government for the employment of healthcare workers in the public sector. But our appeal has fallen onto deaf ears and furthermore has been dismissed. It has been reported that the government owes healthcare workers nothing. But what about our patients? What about the 84% of our population that rely on the public sector?
Meanwhile, patients in Gauteng may be struggling to call through to public hospitals. According to the DA health spokesperson, Jack Bloom, telephone lines at several Gauteng public hospitals are not working due to unpaid bills. Bloom says the Charlotte Maxeke, Steve Biko Academic, Kopanong and Vescopis are some of the affected hospitals. The Gauteng Health Department says it will issue a statement soon. Bloom says patients and their relatives cannot contact the hospital to make appointments, inquiries or get updates.
It is really shocking that for more than 2 weeks, thousands of patients and anxious relatives have simply been unable to get hold of Gauteng public hospitals. Switchboards are not working because the telephone bill hasn't been paid. Can you imagine the distress if you can't find out how your relative is doing or you can't make an appointment? I mean, this is extremely disruptive and there's no excuse for not paying bills. The DA calls on the Gauteng Health Department to pay the telephone bills as soon as possible.
United Nations body UNESCO has sounded the alarm for more teachers to join the profession as 44 million additional teachers are needed globally to meet the 2030 Sustainable Development Goal 4 on quality education. These education sector stakeholders have gathered at the 14th Policy Dialogue Forum of the International Task Force on Teachers for Education underway in Sandton, north of Johannesburg. UNESCO Assistant Director General for Education, Stefania Giannin, says the projections from the Global Report on Teachers show that sub-Saharan Africa needs 15 million additional teachers.
There is a dramatic shortage of teachers globally. It's about 44 million teachers missing from now to 2030 to achieve quality inclusive education for all. So we have to take action. We have to contrast attrition, which is very high in the profession. We have to make the profession of teaching, which is so important socially, and also for inclusive economic growth and social cohesion, once again attractive, which is not the case.
And further afield, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres says nothing justifies what he calls the collective punishment of the Palestinian people in Gaza. Inaugurating 6-week session of the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva, Guterres accused member states of turning a blind eye to the international law, the Geneva Convention, and even the UN Charter. He mentioned Ukraine, Sudan, Myanmar and Gaza as places where the rules of war were being undermined.
Tens of thousands of civilians, including women and children, have been killed in Gaza. Humanitarian aid is still completely insufficient. Rafah is the core of the humanitarian aid operation, and UNRWA is the backbone of that effort. An all-out Israeli offensive on the city would not only be terrifying for more than 1 million Palestinian civilians sheltering there, it would put the final nail in the coffin of our aid programs.
And recapping our top story this hour, the IEC says political parties have been given adequate time to comply with the signature requirements to contest the elections. The Electoral Commission briefed the media today at its headquarters in Centurion, where it outlined milestones related to the 2024 national and provincial elections. I'll be back with the headlines at the bottom of the hour. For SFM News, I'm Nomalizo Mandela.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, leading the conversation.
Feel it, I know it just ain't right, but it seems to pop up in my head. morning, noon, and night. I just can't release it. The memory of you. Mama never told me love would leave me so damn blue. And I got misery, 'cause I know loving you just sin. Got me on my knees praying that I don't give in. And baby, you and me never ever could happen. So I got misery, 'cause I love you till the end. You said that you love me, but I'm the only one. But what you call monogamy is lying to everyone. Well, I give you your freedom, but that's not the end of that. 'Cause you reached in and stole my heart, and now I want it back. And I got misery, 'cause I know loving you's a sin. You got me on my knees praying that I don't give in, baby. You and me never ever could have been. So I got misery, 'cause I love you till the end. I'm so blue, can't let go, I can't let go. I'm so blue, and I can't stop loving you. I'm so blue, can't let go, and I can't let go of you. You give me sweet misery, 'cause I know loving you's a sin. You got me on my knees praying that I don't give in, baby. You and me never ever ever could happen. So I got misery, yeah. I love you till the end. Oh, I know loving you's a sin. You got me on my knees praying that I don't give in, baby. You with me never ever could have been. So I got misery. Oh, I got it bad, I got it bad, I got it so damn bad, baby. Praying that I don't give in, baby. You and me, we never ever could have been. So I got misery, 'cause I love you till the end. Oh, babe. Oh, babe. Oh, babe. Ooh, baby. Sweet misery, sweet misery, sweet misery. I got some sweet misery, 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 sweet misery.
It is Amal LaRue coming through with Sweet Misery, and this one comes from the album Infinite Possibilities. It was actually her debut album that released back in 2000. The entire album kind of has the same kind of tonage, you know, Amal LaRue most tonally. She's quite moody, quite slow-paced, quite vibey, with a sort of a lean into a modern jazz meets rhythm and blues meets some other influences. I'm almost in the mood to revisit this album because it was one of those, you know, it was a good time for music back in the 2000s. That was Amal LaRue. 061-410-4107, by the way, is our WhatsApp line. If you want to be in contact with us today, we're going to be catching up now with the managing director for PR Powerhouse, Lebu Madiba joins me in studio, and we're talking around, I guess, the relationship and integration of HR in the world of PR. And we know that we've had a lot of conversations with the various industries about artificial intelligence on the show. And oftentimes our very limited understanding of it leads us to believe that perhaps it will eclipse human engagement, human innovation, human input. And I think a lot of us are still leading very much cautiously into the world of artificial intelligence. And now we're having this conversation from a PRing perspective, which is very much a human interface exchange industry. How are you doing, Lebu? I'm good. Come closer to my mic, or let me bring my mic closer to you. Yes.
There we go.
Let's drop it. And you can scoot this way, Lil. There we go.
Alrighty.
Okay. You good?
I'm good.
Fantastic.
Good to see you.
Good to be seen. Thank you for coming through. A lot of people are still very skeptical about, HR. And I think our skepticism comes from the fact that we're not aware how we are engaging it and to the extent that we're engaging it. And I phrase it like that because we really are engaging it almost daily now.
Yeah, we are. I think a lot of people are engaging with AI from a point of fear. I wrote an article recently about how AI and public relations and marketing, are meeting each other halfway in doing the work that we do for our clients. And my point of departure on it was that there is fear that AI will replace us, and replace the work that we do. And if you look at it from that perspective, already you're looking at it from a point of fear, and you're not seeing how it can actually be a tool, if you see it that way, as a tool that can help you do your job better in many ways.
Absolutely.
So for me, that's how we should be looking at it. Whether you are, especially if you're in PR and in the creative sectors, whether you're a designer, whether you're a writer, it's there to, you've got the ideas, you've got the thinking already, and the best way to use it is to use it as your amplifier. How do you prompt it? Because it works on prompts as well. It doesn't just generate stuff, it works on prompts. So how do you prompt AI to help you bring out the best of what you can do in the field that we are in?
And I guess maybe also a lot of the apprehension and the fear to integrate AR comes from the narrative of it's here to replace human productivity and it's here to replace human function in the professional setting. But it also seems like a far way away.
I think it's a far way away because it still has to learn a lot. It is intelligence, but it is artificial, and it learns as it goes. And I think that as people, if you look at what we have been able to achieve as a human race up to so far without AI, it tells you that we've got the intelligence to still progress further than where we are. And the AI is here to learn from us as much as we are here to learn from it. So that's where I think the harmony is, where we understand our own intelligence and our own creativity. And you mentioned productivity. For me personally, I find that it helps with my productivity because everything that used to take so long to do can be done in a shorter period of time. So I still do what I do, but I'm using it as a tool, and therefore I can do what I do quicker.
So how does AR integrate? And I guess there's many tiers in the world of public relations, marketing and branding. But how does it integrate in a way that's effective for that sector?
Sure. There's a number of ways. In the article that I mentioned to you now earlier, I mentioned the case study of Checker 6060. I think we are all raving about the brand and how they deliver and it's on time and it's convenient and so on. For me, that's a brand that is leveraging AI to the best of its ability. They're learning what the consumer wants, and they're using that to enhance customer engagement and customer experience. So all of that you love about the brand, it's layered with artificial intelligence in a way that it ensures that it learns what the customer wants quickly, it learns your trends, it learns all of how you buy as a customer. And when you get to a point where you feel like, man, this app knows me, the app doesn't know you. It's layered with artificial intelligence that helps it, that helps the brand come across as a brand that understands and knows its customer base. And for me, because my business does a lot of corporate communication, so we write a lot of annual reports and press releases and opinion articles and so on. When you go into ideation of the topic that you want to explore, applications like ChatGPT are easy generative AI platforms where you can go in and say, I want to write an article on 1, 2, 3, my thoughts are da da da, and then let it come up with some ideas that you can use. The thing about it is not to copy what you get from it, because then what you produce sounds like what everybody else is doing, but is to take what it gives you as part of an idea and then using your creativity to expand on it.
All right, let's take a quick pause here and then we'll come back on the other side and continue our conversation. It's fast approaching 20 past 2 o'clock on the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga.
Mzansi Africa.
Siyabulela
nangomso.
Thank you for witnessing the Africa Cup of Nations Cote d'Ivoire 2023 in your language of choice on SABC radio stations, digital platforms, and SABC TV channels.
Big ups to McDonald's for being on board.
Your magnificent and heartwarming support gave millions of South Africans a spectacular and exhilarating experience during AFCON.
Asonye. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Get South Africa's best adventure SUV. The new Ford Everest Sport 2-liter auto bi-turbo 4x2, now from only $14,499 per month with no deposit. With 20-inch alloy wheels and black exterior accents. Get the new Ford Everest Sport at your nearest Ford dealer today. T&Cs apply.
Arts, culture, and robust conversations with Bridget Masinga.
It is the Full Circle on this fine Monday afternoon as we continue in our conversation exploring the relationship between artificial intelligence and the world of public relations, marketing, and brand. You can never speak about one without including the other because they are so intertwined. And we've got joining me in studio now, Managing Director of a PR Powerhouse to walk us through this. You touch on an interesting part, Lebu, as we go on a break. The fact that you yourself, because you write so many, press releases, proposals, briefs, etc., 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 you use AI to sort of help facilitate that, but obviously very much it's just a guide maybe of sparking their creativity and consolidating some thoughts before you break it all down again. It brings me to there was a tweet that a recruiter, I forget her name, I think she's in Cape Town, she tweeted over the weekend that can candidates stop using artificial intelligence in their covering letters because she can pick up the pattern that they all now on chat, whatchamacallit. And I think perhaps that's where the danger lies, right? And
exactly.
How do you use it, but without relying on it to do the work?
Exactly, you're right. I mean, I spend a lot of my time on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is where professionals go to just talk about themselves. But I've been playing around with ChatGPT since it came out last year, so it's been a few months now. So now when I go into LinkedIn and I read people's posts, I'm like, oh my god, can you write as yourself,
yes,
and not as ChatGPT, because there's a way and there's particular words that it uses that you can immediately pick up when you're reading people's articles and posts and so on. And I think that's where it takes out the creativity and the authenticity out of the work that you do as a professional, even people that are writing CVs, because if you're going to write your covering letter from AI, chances are there are 10 other people who are doing the same, and chances are out of the 10, 8 are going to sound the same, you know, and employers are looking for people that are individuals that have skills, and you need to be able to showcase that, and that comes from being authentic and original. So like I said, it's there to help generate some thinking and thoughts that you might not have had, or maybe you were a little bit more one-dimensional, and when you put the prompts in, it shows you another angle that you hadn't thought of. But from there, you know, that's when your own creativity needs to also just come across, and for you to be able to produce the work. So for me, it should not do the work for you. It should be a tool that you use to support the work that you do.
Yeah. And now, how are some of your corporate brands responding to sort of this artificial element being introduced into the sector of marketing and branding? Because there's also this drive within marketing and brand for there to always be originality and nuance, and an understanding of what our client wants and what our messaging should be in response.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that there should be sort of a harmony between the technology and human creativity, because one cannot replace the other. The tech is there to help you get better, quicker, increase productivity, but the human side of it is there to bring in the nuance. You know, I've seen some very brilliant campaigns where you can tell that AI has been used, but you can also see that especially in African, and I would say African and South African, in the South African context, there's so much of culture and, you know, street culture and language that is so original and authentic to South Africa. You cannot find that on AI at all. So the beauty of what we do as marketers comes from our understanding of the people that we are communicating with, whether that is, you know, in a language or in a street culture or pop culture, that we understand, and only we are able to translate into marketing and communications campaigns. So that cannot be lost. If you start relying on the technology and not so much on the art, because what we do is art, then that's where it gets lost. And for me, when people bring the question about jobs and whether AI will replace jobs, that's where my argument comes in to say, you know, the humanity and the human side of it, technology cannot replicate.
Yeah. And I guess maybe is there a case to be made for the case study that you use in your opinion piece, Checker 6060, regarding exactly that? I'm probably the only human being on the planet that has not interfaced with that. I like going into the store.
No. When?
Immediately after the show.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful case study. You go on the app, you order your groceries, they get delivered at your house. The next time you order, it asks you if you will be ordering the same or you haven't ordered X and X. You know, that's technology that is picking up on your buying patterns. And from your buying patterns, it's improving customer experience for checkers. So we all think, oh, check, they're so amazing. But it's because they found a way of using AI and machine learning, by the way, to be able to service the customer better.
Listen, we are one step away from I-Man. Was it I-Man? Will Smith's movie.
iRobot.
Yes, that one. We are one step away from iRobot, I tell you. Closer and closer with each day. And I think for me, probably where I have reluctance with technologies, right? And I understand we live in a technological world. Everything we do is immersed in technological innovation, so you cannot run away from it. And to most parts, it's made life easier and more convenient for our human experience. But I always feel, in the instance for say of this case that you use with 6060, I always go, but it does not trump. And maybe because I interface with it on the back end when I'm in the store and I see they're running around. I was like, it does not trump you going into the store and you discover that, oh, peanut butter, this brand is 5% off today versus that brand, which is, and you can only get that kind of information
when you're in store.
Yeah.
Listen, I've been in Checkers and when and Pick and Pay when that running around is happening, and you think, oh my God, you need to find a better way of doing this part of it. But my thing also about technology, where I differ to you, is that at least with the app and using tech, you know what you're paying before you check out. Mm-hmm. So if you've gone over your budget, you can go back into your cart and say, remove the ice cream because I don't need it today, and that sort of thing. So,
there's pros and cons.
Yeah, there's pros and cons for both.
I love it. Yeah. Now, for young people getting into the space, because they full on throttle into technology, and it can hinder them. They haven't learned that sort of happy medium balance that seasoned professionals have now mastered. What would be the advice about what's the best way to engage technology and integrate it into your services, into your work and your space professionally, but without letting it override and take over to the point where it's detrimental for your progress or opportunities? Yeah,
I think nothing beats real life experience. Nothing beats being on the streets and getting to know the people that you communicate with, the people that you view as your consumer or customer. So I think that if I were to encourage young people, is get off the phone, get off the devices, get into the streets, get into the environment, rather, not the streets, of the people that you're communicating with, because the nuance that you're looking for is you're not going to find on a device. You're going to get it from experiences and from touch points and talking to people, and let that be what you lead with in your work, and let technology just support you.
Absolutely. I mean, the relations part of public relations is the most important part. Absolutely. Let's wrap it there with the MD of PR Powerhouse, Lebu Madiba. Thank you so much for coming through. Much appreciated. Let's get into the headline news with Nomaliso Mandela.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.5 FM in Tabazimbi.
Thank you, Bridget. And in the headlines, citizens have just a week to inspect the voters' roll and lodge objections as to the inclusion or exclusion of a voter on it. This forms part of the elections timetable published last week, which specifies activities and cut-off dates for eligible voters and those intending to contest the 2024 national and provincial elections. In other news, Basic Education's Minister Angie Motshekga says upskilling the current cohort of teachers to teach new subjects remains a challenge for the country. Motshekga was speaking to SABC News on the sidelines of the 14th Policy Dialogue Forum of the International Task Force on Teachers for Education underway in Sandton, north of Johannesburg. And police in the Northern Cape say they've arrested 751 wanted suspects in an inter-provincial cross-border operation involving 4 other provinces. Details on these and other stories at the top of the hour.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365. Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za. Here, there, and everywhere. 106.6 FM in Mangaung.
You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
We are joined by Mzikaka, who is the lecturer and corporate liaison at the Academy of Sound Engineering. And we're having a conversation around perhaps some of the possibilities that could lay there. Of course, the matrics of 2023 are fully within the first quarter of their academic studies, and some of them probably at this late juncture looking for options. And we thought we'd catch up with the folks out at the Academy of Sound Engineering. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Yourself, Bridget?
I'm fantastic. You guys are right across the street, right?
Right across the street, and in fact, we have an extension of our campus within the SABC as well.
I've been seeing a lot of your students up and down these days, and I was like, okay, these ones must come from across. I just assumed, because the conversation I hear is about, hey, desk this, hey.
Indeed.
Yeah, but tell us about, before we even get to the year and the offerings, give us a little bit of background in as far as the academy, because it almost seems like it's always been here.
It's been here for a while. We were founded in 1997, so we're in our 27th year of existence. A quick Google search will tell you that we are Africa's largest tertiary education provider in music production and sound engineering technology.
Oh,
yes,
continentally.
Continentally.
Wow.
And it goes beyond that because we are the highest accredited Avid Learning Center in the Southern Hemisphere. We can get to that a little later, but we're indeed a world leader. Well, when it comes to Avid, they are developers of production software, from video to audio. And on the audio side of their developments, they have Pro Tools, something you've probably encountered. It is the global standard in audio production software. 95% of all high-end production studios use Pro Tools.
Yes.
And we offer the highest level of accreditation in that respect.
Oh, okay. No wonder it's always jam-packed with students every single year. Oh, fantastic. I mean, this is good information to know because, sometimes kids can be quite lackadaisical, and then they say to mom and dad, I want to attend the Academy of Sound Engineering, and then they don't make this pitch in as far as the credentials of the academy.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that can be the case because for most of them, all they think of when they think Academy of Sound Engineering, which is not inaccurate, but it's not quite in full what is on offer at Academy of Sound Engineering. They might think just music production, making beats, etc. However, it is the full spectrum of the entertainment industry, at least in terms of audio production, but we do have a television and film department as well that delves into that. We specialize in providing the technical skills from industry experts themselves who are not only experienced but active in the industry. That's very important for us. And then we broaden that into the commerce of entertainment. So we delve into business and legal studies pertaining to the entertainment industry as well.
Very important element that. Extremely important element that. Because I think a lot of creative faculties and creative institutions focus so much on the creative element and the practicality of the job. But we also understand as practitioners in creative sectors that you wear multiple hats because you are your business.
You are the business, that's correct. That's correct, indeed. So we ensure that our students are fully clued up, if I could put it that way, in terms of contracts, copyright, but also to go along with that, we're talking business models, financing, marketing. So really how to run yourself, if I should put it that way, as a business. And that assists in terms of employment, because it is an industry in which, I'm sure you'd know this, requires to an extent an entrepreneurial spirit and an entrepreneurial mind. However, fortunately, because of the incredible growth it's experiencing, with growth come opportunities, the corporatization of the industry as well. So the options continue to increase for students.
And speaking about that sort of decorporatization, there's so much going on, especially particularly with young creatives, and they need to want to own their spaces and dictate, to some degree what their work looks like, or where it's presented and how it's represented. I wonder then, how important is it for an institution like yourself to be fluid in that regard with your modules, and because you've got to be responsive to the practicalities of the industry outside your building?
Indeed, we have to be. We're both responsive and preemptive. For example, when it comes to what you're touching on right now, if we were to look at it from a technical aspect, Pro Tools is pretty much it falls under what we call a DAW, which is pretty much a studio within a software program.
Okay.
So students will learn all they need to know about how to produce world-class music at a world-class standard, etc. And then along with that, when it comes to our commerce studies, on our faculty we have Nick Matsukis, who is a thought leader and probably the most respected entertainment lawyer and consultant in the country. So he is always, and his staff as well, his team, are always ahead of the game in terms of what legislations are coming into effect and trying to best position our students in that regard, giving them a heads up ahead of time as to within a year, within 2 years, this is what's going to be happening in the music industry, business-wise and legally. We suggest that you start giving these attention and we basically start delving into these knowledge sets, so to speak.
Yeah. Geez, you're coming in heavy there with Nick, hey? In my opinion, probably one of two entertainment lawyers, the other one being Laz,
okay,
that really shake up the buildings when you mention those names. Suddenly people go, okay, let's take that meeting. Let's get this over and done with. Okay, run us through in terms of the year. What does it look like, the sort of academic structure of the academy? Are we talking short-term courses, intermediate, long-term? What does all of that look like?
Our offering extends from, part-time short courses to the full-time courses. We recommend that, especially if you're a matriculant or have just passed matric, that you indeed fully immerse yourself into our full-time courses. Starts with a 1-year higher certificate, which will in fact be starting now in March. They start a little later through to the end of the year. Then we have a 2-year diploma. We had a 3-year BSc. However, we found that this BSc is a little too technical for our liking, in the sense that it won't quite allow us to deliver the full offering if we are to adhere to regulations, etc. in that regard. So there is a B degree in the works which will allow us to indeed offer the commerce studies that we also have available to us, as we are more, I would say, technical, creative, and commercial in our offerings.
Yeah. And studio time for everything that you offer, and like you said, you run the gambit from audio production, film, television, lots of it being very practical. So I can imagine there's a lot of practical work also involved at the academy.
Highly practical. It gets more practical as you progress. You'll find that the first year is fairly heavy with the theory, but this is only because, I mean, if you think for yourself, when you're purchasing sound equipment, etc., comes with a manual, right? So we're just trying to make sure that our students not only know what to do, but why they're doing it as well. It's very important that they understand the concept in full. And then as they progress throughout their first, second, and third year, it becomes increasingly practical in that respect. And you mentioned studio time. It's free, of course, with the tuition they pay. And with that, they have access to state-of-the-art equipment. We've had a number of students, for example, producing multiple albums for major record labels or artists while studying.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely. Quick one. In my sort of final moments, fee-wise, what are we looking at?
Well, in that respect, of course, it can be relative. We're looking at an amount roughly
in the range of,
say, between 75, etc., to 85, roundabout there, roughly. However, even beyond that, there are conversations that can, of course, be had, because we are sound engineers, after all, so we know everything about making plans. Thus, we indeed are always open to sitting down and conversing and exploring options along with the parents, even if it requires our intervention with certain financial institutions, etc.
Okay. And then contact details for anybody that wants to apply, if there's still time to apply.
Sure, there is. In fact, we're having an open day on Saturday right here on campus at the SABC, so we invite you to please come on through. Just head over to our website, ase.co.za, and you will be contacted accordingly in that respect. That's our preferred mode of communication.
ase.co.za.
That's correct, yeah.
Lovely stuff. We appreciate you coming through, MZ. I think you've eased a few parents, because, you know, when they hear about, I want to go study sound engineering, they're like, Ini, like, teeny. But, I think to hear that the institution is of the highest accreditation, the history of the institution, and obviously some of the people like Nick, for instance, who lend their weight to it, means that your student is in safe hands. So if they are exploring a career within sound engineering in any of the disciplines of it, then maybe they should send that email to ase.co.za. Aldrin St. Pierre standing by to let us know what's coming up on Beyond the Headline.
Catch the Insider SA this Monday evening at 6 as international dance sensation Musa Mota fires the imagination of millions. Film star Zandile Mhlangu brings the action off screen as much as on. And of all the wedding venues in the world, why did Dr. Carly Andringa and Paul van Dyk choose Antarctica? Find out on the Insider SA this Monday at 6. Repeat Saturday at 1 p.m. and Sunday morning at 10:30 on S3.
Bafana Bastard remember what transpired in Lubumbashi when they went down by a goal to nil against the Ravens. They want to ensure their visitors walk away with sad faces when they meet in the final group stage contest. However, the DRC outfit are confident of another upset. This is the CAF Champions League. Catch Mamelodi Sundowns versus TP Mazembe on Saturday 2 March at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC1. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Aldrin St. Pierre, how are you doing?
Good afternoon, birthday girl. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic, thank you. What did it mean? I don't eat chocolate, so it didn't bring me chocolate.
I thought you're not a chocolate girl.
What a cop-out.
I thought you're not a chocolate girl. Now I know.
You must
what type of chocolate do you prefer?
I don't know. Surprise me. I'll even take a cheap one. It's
even
fine.
A cheap one?
Yes.
Okay.
But
I'll bring you the one there, Makatini. Those who know, they know.
I know Makatini. What's coming up today?
Coming up on the show, and you need to get used to this, unfortunately, Bridget. Every day is going to be something related to the elections.
I know.
Yeah, so just hang 10 up until after the 29th of May. So earlier on today, the IEC had a press briefing on the timetable that they've issued, the elections timetable, and all of the deadlines that have been set. So we'll be speaking to the IEC about that. But already there are a couple of political parties. They call themselves representing the Multi-Party Forum, consisting of the African Congress for Transformation, African Transformation Movement, African People's Convention, Azanians Organization, Build One South Africa, Land Party, Umkhonto Wesizwe Party, Rise Mzansi, United African Transformation, and United Democratic Movement. They have some issues with the deadlines that have been set, including that by the 8th of March, you must have submitted your candidate list, who are the people that you want to be or registered the political party, including the independent candidates as well that want to participate in the election. So they are saying that the deadline is way too tight, and also the requirement for signatures for the voters' roll, and they are raising the issue about the IDs. But I remember when I spoke to the information regulator, Advocate Pensit Lagula, during the 2016 elections, and she said that actually the IEC or the Electoral Act would be amended, the voters' roll would be exempted because there's legislation that actually requires that on a voters' roll you must have the person's name, ID, address, and so forth.
Yeah.
So I wonder what they're going to do about that.
Quick question before, quickly, and I know I'm always the one that takes up time. Quick question. I wonder with these new formulated parties, as I've asked, and I think I've asked you off-site before, when people know that we're coming into elections and then you decide to formulate and announce a party 4 months, 3 months prior to the time, when you start complaining about deadlines, should we be sympathetic? Because you knew that you probably would want to get involved in this.
Yeah.
You knew you'd want to have a dog in this fight. So should you have not gotten your ducks in a row a year in advance?
That's the expectation, perhaps, that you should have done that. But looking at what happens with political parties and how a one member will decide that I'm defecting and I'm starting my own political party, then what does it mean for those people,
But
those
for
individuals?
instance,
Like someone who's going to decide right now.
But Musi has
that,
been in the game for a while.
Somebody who decides right now that I want to start a political party, what do we say about fairness for that individual to actually participate in the elections?
I guess sure.
And
Okay.
the Constitutional Court dealt with this matter in Tlokwe.
Yeah.
That even the people who want to participate in the elections, that they should be also given the same respect that is given to voters, because the individual that wants to register to participate in the elections, that person needs to be a registered voter as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it must respect that individual and their rights as well, to try and woo you and your family to vote for them.
Okay.
Also on the show this afternoon, quick one.
Yes.
The 15-year-old teenager who was wrongfully arrested for not presenting identification after she was searched in Hillbrow. And this speaks to the profiling that happens. I look at you, dark skin, that means that possibly you're from the northern parts of the country. If not the northern parts of the country, you are just above the northern parts of our borders.
Yeah.
And there might be a possibility that you are a foreign national, therefore you must produce your
ID. Yeah.
But a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
A 15-year-old having to present the ID. So that's one of the conversations that we're having this afternoon. We'll be joined by the Gauteng Provincial Manager for the South African Human Rights Watch.
Wowza. All right, lots coming up. And
Happy birthday once again.
Thank you very much, Aldrin Simpia. He's coming up between 3 and 6 o'clock. He was asked the people why were they not prepared with all the right stuff. Let's take a quick break and we'll come right back.
Mzansi Africa.
Siyalobuka.
Siyabulela nangomso.
Thank you for witnessing the Africa Cup of Nations Cote d'Ivoire 2023 in your language of choice on SABC radio stations, digital platforms, and SABC TV channels.
Big ups to Unilever for being on board.
Your magnificent and heartwarming support gave millions of South Africans a spectacular and exhilarating experience during AFCON.
Asonye. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Top Sport with Michael Abramson.
Editor and founder of CenterCircle.online, Mashlomola Morake. If South Africa get through, which looks very likely to be the case, it's either Cameroon or Nigeria. Would that take place over 2 legs, effectively, for 1 place in Paris, or how does that work?
Absolutely, that's how it's going to work, Michael. And as you rightfully mentioned, South Africa is 1 foot in the 4th and final round. And as you said, Nigeria or Cameroon lie in wait in the next round. One of those 2 teams will have to work harder. But for South Africa, 3 goals, I don't see them letting that lead slip away from them.
Top Sport on SAFM.
MasterChef, the biggest, most loved culinary TV show on the planet, is coming to S3. Now, this fresh local version of MasterChef South Africa will cook up a storm on S3 for the first time in 2024. And you can enter on www.masterchefsa.tv and start prepping for the opportunity to win R1 million. And, of course, the prestigious title of Mzansi's new MasterChef. Entries close on the 15th of March. Channel A Better You on S3.
You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
Yeah, someone just asked me quickly, that email for the Academy of Sound Engineering was ase.co.za. Well, not an email, but that's the website where you can go, ase.co.za. And then there should be an email there that you can then, send to the relative department, whichever one you want. As we wrap up the show, we are quickly touching base with Tarina Falk, who's the MD of Elite Risk Acceptances, a high net worth insurer and a subsidiary of Old Mutual Insure. So you know that Michael Jordan's Michael Jordan's championship sneakers, all iterations of the Air Jordan from between 1991 to 1998 recently sold for a record of 8 million rand at an auction. In fact, there was somebody that bought a singular pair of a Jordan sneaker that he had gifted someone upon winning one of the NBA championships for double digits, millions. It went into the double digits. I can't now remember who that was, but that story is out there. And reports suggest that the Air Jordan line has been coveted by sneakerheads. I can tell you this, it definitely is. And we thought we'd catch up with Tarina today to find out more about insuring our memorabilia and some of the things that we should look out for. How are you doing, Tarina?
I'm doing very well, thanks, Bridget, and thanks for having me. And before you proceed, happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You can always pass on a collector's watch or something. I'm joking. Thank you, Tarina. Now, tell me, Tarina, how do we go about determining the value of some of our collectibles that should be insured?
Yeah, whether it's sports memorabilia or any other collectibles, it is they're often worth, if it's a collections are often worth more than the sum of their parts. Conversely, you may have bought something a couple of years ago at a hugely inflated price, say at a charity auction, and the market value is actually significantly lower.
Oh.
So it is so important to have it appraised by a professional valuer so that you know exactly what the value of your collectible is. Look, collections of one-of-a-kind items like those Michael Jordan sneakers, they can't be replaced. It's impossible. So we can't, as insurers, compensate clients, or we can't replace it. And we can't compensate clients for the sentimental value that they have. We can only compensate them for the financial loss. So that's why it's so important to know the formal valued value of your collectibles and memorabilia.
Now, Tarina, you see, when you say formal value, now if we're sticking to this case of the Jordan sneaker, right, because sneaker culture is such a niche, though widespread, it's still a niche culture, right? And it's, are you able to then formalize a value of something like a sneaker versus, for instance, a Patek watch, which you know the manufacturing value of it, whereas sneakers really speak to the culture and the sentiment around the item?
Yes, but that's why I say, obviously, the fact that he wore those sneakers add immensely to the value of it, and that's why I'm saying it can't be replaced. So we then will try to compensate for the financial loss. And at this stage, at $8 million, that would be the financial loss that the client suffers.
I see.
If those sneakers got stolen or damaged. But and that's why I'm saying, get a professional appraiser, valuer, to appraise those items. We can use Francois Pinault number 6 shirt in the 95 World Cup. It carries so much emotional value to us as South Africans because Madiba also wore the shirt.
Yeah.
So there's no way that thing can be replaced. So get somebody professional who knows these things on how we can agree with the insurer what the compensation should be in case an item like that gets lost or stolen.
And any specific sort of considerations or limitations perhaps that collectors should be aware of?
Well, that's actually what I wanted to say here. It is very important to understand that you can't be compensated for the sentimental value. But there's a lot of other considerations, but I think that the limitations would be that we can't. I want to use a simpler example. I want to use that item that you inherited for your grandmother. As an insurer, from your grandmother, as an insurer, we could very possibly source that item and replace it for you. But that's not the same item, you know. So unfortunately, we can only compensate for the financial loss. But hopefully people will take very good care of such an important acquisition, so that you can agree with your insurer on a rate as well, because they seem to be somewhat lower risk items depending on where they're kept.
Yeah. And just in our final thoughts, Torina, by way of, the specialist insurance for collectible items, what does it entail? What do I need as the client coming to you guys at Elite Risk? What do I need to have on hand in order to ensure that, forgive the pun, that my item is actually, is eligible to be insured?
Look, anything can be insured, but like I said earlier, I think an appraisal is the first step to have in your hand. And then it's important to make sure that your insurer understands the values and is able to carry that risk, that your insurer has the capacity to insure, for example, something that's worth $8 million. And also that your insurer has the skills, the networks, and the ability to repair or replace that item if it is repairable or replaceable.
Okay.
I think so. It's very important to choose your insurer wisely.
Absolutely. We have to leave it there for this afternoon, but we appreciate the time with you. That was Torina Falk, MD of Elite Risk Acceptances. So if you do have some item of sporting or historical sentiment and memorabilia, you might want to get some advice from people like herself in order to see whether or not it is insurable. Even items, by the way, items such as handbags, where especially us ladies place a lot of value in handbags, luxury handbags and leather goods. These are all things we should be really looking at insuring with these kind of elite insurers who are underwritten by big insurance firms, because once you lose it or it gets stolen, it's very hard to replace. That is how we wrap things up from my end. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your Monday afternoon with us. Aldrin St. Pierre is coming through in just a matter of moments. The conversation does continue on our social media platforms. You can find me on X at Bridget Masinga, and inshallah, God willing, we get to do it again.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, leading the conversation.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation.
Independent and impartial. This is SAFM News.
Top stories this hour, more on IEC's election readiness, and farmers in Europe continue protesting. Good afternoon. And in our election news, citizens have just a week to inspect the voters' roll and lodge objections as to the inclusion or exclusion of a voter on it. This forms part